Good morning. Good morning to you all. I'm currently learning European Portuguese because I just moved to Portugal. So any little bit of school French that I had, it's gone. It's gone. So thank you for accommodating my lack of language. I want to tell you how this is going to go. I'm going to talk for about 40 minutes or so, and then we might have 10 minutes for questions if some things arise. And if I talk too long and we don't have time, it's okay. I'm going to be around all day. I'll be at the coffee breaks. I'll be in sessions. I'll be at the cocktail hour. Please come talk to me. I love to take selfies. I love to sign books. I love to talk to you. So please feel free. Yeah. So in this keynote, we're going to be taking several perspectives. We're going to be taking a huge planetary perspective, our whole planet, our whole world. We're going to be taking the perspective of business. We're even going to be taking the perspective of you as an individual person, even inside of you. So I will do my best to let you know when we're zooming out and when we're zooming in. We'll be doing that back and forth, zooming out and zooming in this keynote. So I want to drop us into a large perspective to begin with, and that's the perspective of nature. And the idea that the nature of change itself has changed. And you might already know this. You might already know this in your mind and your body. So just think about it for yourself. In the last year, maybe on a scale of 1 to 10, how much change have you experienced personally? Un petit peu? Or la grande? Big change. How many have experienced big changes? And probably not just in one place, probably at work and at home and in your own sense of self, all at the same time. Yeah? It's because the nature of change itself has changed, and you're not crazy. It's totally reasonable to feel the nature of change changing. It's now perpetual, pervasive, and exponential, the three new aspects of change. It's going to happen all the time. It's going to be in multiple places of your work and life at once. And here's the most important part. The pace of change will never be slower than it is today. Now, if that idea doesn't scare the hell out of you, I don't know what planet you're living on, because it already feels incredibly out of control to me. So this idea of like our old strategies of keeping up, of going for a specific outcome and getting it, those strategies are unlikely to work. But here is the really good news. We agilists, we people who practice agile and the mindset of agility, we're made for this. And we might not be made for the next thing that's coming, but I think it's maybe our calling. And the next thing that's coming, or maybe I would say is already here, it's like a big ball of yarn. It's all tangled up. It's hard to pull apart. And it's what a lot of people refer to as the meta-crisis. So it's all of our crises, political, environmental, societal, psychological, all meshed up together. That's a big mess. It's incredibly complex. Simple solutions are not going to get us out of this mess. And it is said that we are in the age of acceleration. Have you heard this? We're in the age of acceleration. That everything for a long time just sort of bumped along, and then all of a sudden, shoo, everything went crazy exponential. So the pace of change we just talked about went exponential. AI and other exponential technologies? Also going exponential. That makes sense. What about climate catastrophes? Whew. Burnout and depression? Whew. Anything else? Whew. Do you feel this in yourself? Whew. So I'm hoping to bring you along with me on this idea that we agilists have something to give because we know how to do things, and maybe more importantly, we know how to be in the midst of difficulty and complexity and still make progress and still do good. Okay, if that's not enough, the business context we're in, definitely affected by the meta crisis, although a lot of us are trying to ignore it. But the piece that is happening everywhere is this idea that we are moving from organizing organizations, business, as machines, as predictable things we can put together and run forever the same way. Control, stability, the things we love. Isn't it nice? Oh gosh, just allow yourself to feel it for a moment. Isn't it nice when things run on time? Isn't it nice when there's nothing unexpected that happens? Isn't it wonderful when you know exactly what you're going to do and it's simple? So when you have those moments, hang on to them. Because what is happening in the external world is pushing us to understand that organizations are much more like rainforests, probably always have been. We just were able to ignore it for a long time. And so now with this dawning realization that organizations are more like ecosystems, like a rainforest, we start to understand that we can't control that. The idea of managing a rainforest or standardizing something in a rainforest, that's ridiculous. But look closely. Lots of things thrive in a rainforest. It's a little messy. Maybe it's a lot messy. Anyone ever been in a rainforest? I have. Everything in there wants to kill you. Everything has thorns and spikes, and it's super messy, but it is full of life, full of possibility. And so we agilists have the ability to use what we know to work with the rainforest, to participate with the change that's coming, to even find ways of being wise in the midst of so much change. I would say to you that we have a superpower. You want to know what it is? You do? Okay. I'm pretty excited about this one. I think it is the power to metabolize change for good. And what I mean by metabolize is that we can take it in and we can sit with it long enough to get the nutrients out of it, to have some wisdom come forward, to have a new idea emerge that would have never happened before, because we're not trying to resist change. Now, okay. I know on an individual level you might be trying to resist change. I would prefer things not change too. But the idea here is that we have the ability to work with change. We have the ability not to freak out when things change. We have a superpower. So pay attention to her, because she's going to come back in this keynote later. In fact, I would say to you that Agile frameworks themselves are quite complete for doing one specific thing. Now, they're incomplete for almost everything else. The frameworks themselves were built to be incomplete. You need to bring in things from design thinking, from innovation labs, from professional coaching, from facilitation, from this, from that, from the other thing, because you're trying to adapt to what will work in a given circumstance. That's cool. A little frustrating maybe, but it's cool. Agile frameworks, though, are quite complete for doing one thing, our superpower, for metabolizing change again and again and again and again and again and over. No one is getting off the change bus. We are all on the change bus together, and there doesn't seem to be any break. You know? No stops are happening. We're not getting a rest between changes. So if that makes you feel unstable, and it does me, you can find your sense of stability in the way that agility makes it safe to change. Agility actually makes it safe to change. It makes it safe to work with reality as it is instead of pushing it away. It makes it safe to be courageous when you transparently inspect and adapt and realize the thing that you did no longer matters, or the thing you did has an unintended consequence and you want to stop that. You want to shift it. So these are just 5 ways that agility makes it safe to change, and I bet you can think of more. So I'm making a pretty big claim here. I'm making the claim of thinking about agility as this brilliant, emergent response. So instead of thinking about, agility as this interesting sort of business thing that happened randomly, how about thinking this? Maybe it has occurred at exactly the right time to help us be a better match for the complex, turbulent, disturbing world we're actually in. Maybe to help us be a better match for our actual environment. Now, this is a pretty bold claim, wouldn't you say? That agility makes it safe to change, and we can think about it as this response that helps us thrive in constant change, and especially disruption, the things we don't like. So now we're going to zoom in. Now we're going to zoom into, really honestly, the basics of one of our most used frameworks, the Scrum framework. And I think about the Scrum framework in 2 pieces. I think about it as a delivery flow and as a feedback and improvement flow. So those are the 2 flows here, delivery, feedback, and improvement. So I'm literally going to show you where each of those statements I just made shows up in the Scrum framework. So let's take the first one. Never losing progress. So the Scrum framework itself, without any fancy modification, without any capitulation to problems in the organization that don't allow you to do it, just the Scrum framework, the basic thing itself, allows you to never lose progress because you're only planning a short amount of things in a short amount of time and actually delivering them. So every time you do this, you put progress in the bank. And things will change out there, fine. But in the meantime, you've got progress. You have something that is of value. Here's the next one, adjusting while it's cheap. One way we adjust while it's cheap is the daily stand-up. Isn't it great not to waste time because you didn't realize the person is going to do something this afternoon that relies on you to do something this morning and you were planning on doing that later, and you have this little 5-second conversation and you realize, oh my gosh, I can just change the way I'm going to do the order of my work today, and now we don't waste a lot of time. Isn't that amazing? Adjusting while it's cheap. The other way we do it is through the sprint review, adjusting the product, and the retrospective, adjusting the team. Again and again and again. And optimally, these improvements flow right into the backlog and into the next cycle. Okay, what about this one? Amplify the good and correct the bad. I think correcting the bad is probably more important than amplifying the good these days because we're not paying attention to our unintended consequences. And we can. We can. This framework allows us to do it. It allows us to do it right here. We deliver value and we review it right away. We can say, ooh, what happened that was great that we want to amplify? And ooh, gosh, we didn't think it was going to do that, so let's fix it. I would love for governments to work like this, wouldn't you? Holy crap. All right. Next one is bringing in change. Now, when a team is delivering what they've said in the sprint backlog, they're banking that value for good, the world out there is not stopping. The world out there is still changing. All kinds of things are changing, and we catch them on the backlog. We put them on the backlog If the thing that has changed is the most important thing to do, it can come right into the next sprint and boom, into the next cycle. You never have to wait longer than 4 weeks to bring in something more important. And most people are running sprints a lot shorter than 4 weeks. 2 weeks, 1 week,